Hello.
I hadn't planned on coming home that week. Finals had just ended. My roommates had all scattered, and the thought of staying alone in a half-empty campus apartment didn't appeal to me. My mom had texted me a simple "come home, I'll cook," and that was enough. I packed a bag and drove the 3 hours back, expecting nothing more than a quiet few days of leftovers, laundry, and sleep. What I didn't expect was that her best friend would be living in our house. "Just for a week or two," Mom said that first night, pouring tea like it was no big deal. "Karen's going through a split, and she needed a place to land for a bit." Karen. I hadn't seen her in years. She used to come over when I was in high school, wine nights, movie marathons, loud laughter echoing through the hall. Back then, she was just Mom's fun, stylish friend. But when she stepped out of the hallway and into the kitchen that night, something shifted. She looked different, not in a bad way, just sharper, softer, older, but in the way people get when they stop trying to impress and just start existing. She wore a long sweater over black leggings, her hair tied up loosely, a glass of water in hand. No makeup, no smile at first. Then she saw me, and it appeared slow, easy, like she recognized something in my face she hadn't expected. "Well, look at you," she said. "Last time I saw you, you still had braces." I smiled. "They're long gone, I promise." "You grew up," she added, and something about the way she said it made me straighten my shoulders. That first night passed quietly. Karen disappeared into the guest room early. Mom stayed up, folding laundry and talking about her job. I went to bed wondering how the house could feel familiar and unfamiliar at the same time. The next morning, I woke early, an old habit from campus life. I made coffee in the kitchen, poured it into the chipped mug I always used, and headed back to my room. It was still quiet. No footsteps, no voices. I sat on the edge of my bed, scrolling through nothing on my phone, half awake. That's when the door opened. No knock, no hesitation, just the soft sound of a turning handle, and then Karen stepped in. She was in a robe, a light one, ivory, loose around the waist. Her hair was still damp, clinging to her collarbone. One hand clutched the knot of fabric tied just below her ribs. The other held a water bottle. She took 2 steps into the room before she looked up and saw me. She froze. "Oh," she said, blinking once. "I forgot you were home." Her voice was calm, but something in her expression shifted. A quick flicker of surprise, maybe even embarrassment. She wasn't wearing anything under that robe. Or if she was, it wasn't much. The light from the hallway behind her cut across the room and hit her from the side, outlining her figure in soft contrast. I sat there, too stunned to speak. She gave a small laugh. Not forced, but a little tight. "Sorry. I thought this was the linen closet. Your mom moved the towels again." "It's fine," I managed. Her eyes scanned the room quickly, then landed on me again. Then the door. "You're up early. Couldn't sleep." She nodded slowly, then took a half step back. "Well, you've seen worse, I'm sure." I opened my mouth to say something, anything, but she was already turning. "Enjoy your coffee," she added over her shoulder, and the door closed softly behind her. I sat there for a long time after that. The coffee cooled in my hand. I stared at the closed door like it might open again. Didn't, but the image of her standing there, damp hair, soft robe, the way her voice dipped when she said, "I forgot you were home," stayed with me. It wasn't the robe. It was the pause, the part of her that didn't rush to cover up, the way her eyes lingered before she left, the way her voice sounded more curious than startled. I set the mug down and rubbed the back of my neck. This week was going to be anything but quiet. I didn't see her again until later that afternoon. I'd spent most of the morning trying to act like nothing had happened. I did the dishes, half-heartedly folded laundry, even walked around the block just to burn off whatever strange energy was running through me. But every time I passed the hallway, every time I heard a door creak or the kettle whistle, my mind went right back to that moment. Her standing in my room, damp hair, robe tied loose, the flicker in her eyes. Around 4, I was in the kitchen making a sandwich when she came in. She was dressed now, casual, fitted jeans and a plain gray t-shirt that hung slightly off one shoulder. Her hair was dry, pulled back in a low knot, and she looked relaxed, calm, like someone who had nothing to explain. She walked in barefoot, poured herself some iced tea, and leaned against the counter across from me. "Sleep better last night?" she asked. I nodded. Eventually, she took a sip. "Sorry about earlier, by the way." I shook my head. "It's fine. Really." Karen smiled faintly. "Guess I should knock from now on." There was a pause. Not awkward, but charged. "I didn't mind," I said before I could stop myself. She raised an eyebrow, not surprised, but curious. "Didn't mind what?" "The visit." Her smile deepened, but she didn't laugh. "You're bolder than you used to be." I busied myself with my plate, trying not to choke on a slice of tomato. That evening, Mom worked late. She texted around 7 to say she'd be home after 10. I was sitting on the back porch, scrolling through my phone, when Karen opened the screen door and stepped outside with a glass of wine. She didn't ask to sit, just did. "Your mom said she's swamped. Big audit coming up." "Yeah," she mentioned. Karen leaned back, looking out at the fading light. "Funny how quiet this house gets at night." I looked over. She wasn't looking at me, just at the trees swaying softly at the edge of the yard. She took a slow sip and said, "I used to think noise meant you were happy. Laughter, dishes clinking, a TV running in the background. Now I kind of crave the quiet." I nodded, unsure what to say. She glanced over at me. "You've changed." I looked at her. "Since when?" "Since you were 17. Teen, maybe. You used to trip over your own shoes when I came over." "Maybe I still do. Just quietly." She laughed at that, really laughed. And it felt nice, like I'd earned it. "I remember you always watching," she said after a moment. "You didn't talk much, but you noticed everything." That sounds creepy. It wasn't. It was sweet. Still is. I didn't know what to do with that. I didn't know how to sit still in moments like this. "I guess I still notice things," I said. She raised her glass slightly. "Like what?" I looked at her. The curve of her jaw in the dim light. The way her collarbone caught the last orange slant of sunset. The way her fingers circled the stem of the wineglass. "Like how people pretend they're fine," I said finally. Her expression shifted barely, but enough. She looked down at her glass. "Yeah, people do that a lot." Silence settled again. Not empty, just full of things neither of us was ready to say. Later that night, I walked downstairs to get water. The kitchen light was off, but a lamp in the corner was on, warm, amber, barely glowing. Karen was there, sitting at the table in a robe again, this one darker, pulled tight. Her feet were bare, curled under her on the chair. Her hair was loose, and her face was turned slightly toward the open window. She didn't flinch when I entered. "Can't sleep?" she asked without looking. "Not really." She gestured to the chair across from her. "Sit." I hesitated, then did. She slid a second cup toward me. Chamomile tea. Still warm. "You always come into the kitchen this late?" I asked. She smiled. "Only when something's keeping me up." "What's keeping you up tonight?" She didn't answer right away, just stared into her cup. "Being seen," she said finally. I frowned. "What do you mean?" She looked up, her eyes softer now. When you've lived a certain way for long enough, married, stable, predictable, you start to feel like no one really sees you anymore. They see the role, the function, but not the person. I didn't speak. And then someone walks into your life, or maybe you walk into their room by accident, and suddenly you feel seen again. And it's scary. But also, she trailed off. Nice, I finished. Her gaze lingered on me. You noticed, she said. Not a question. A fact. I did. Did you like what you saw? I swallowed. I did. Her lips parted slightly as if to respond, but she didn't. Instead, she stood, slowly, taking both cups and walking to the sink. I watched the robe shift as she moved, the silhouette of her form subtle but impossible to ignore. She rinsed the cups in silence, then turned to face me. You should get some rest, she said softly. I nodded and stood, but I didn't move. Karen? Yeah. That morning, you didn't forget I was home, did you? A beat. Then quietly, she said, No, I didn't. She reached over and gently flicked off the lamp, leaving us in the blue-gray shadows of the kitchen. Good night, she whispered. I didn't respond. I just walked back upstairs, heart pounding, her voice still echoing in my ears. I didn't fall asleep right away. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the dark pressing in around me, the silence louder than anything. Her voice kept looping in my mind, that final whisper in the kitchen. No, I didn't. There was something terrifying about honesty like that. Not loud, not dramatic, just plain and heavy. The kind that stays with you. Around 2 a.m., I gave up on sleep. I pulled on a t-shirt and padded barefoot down the hallway, careful not to step too loudly. I didn't know what I was doing, just following that strange pull in my chest. The air in the house was still, like it was holding its breath. The kitchen was empty this time, dark. The teacups from earlier were gone. I poured myself a glass of water and leaned on the counter, staring out the window. The streetlights outside flickered faintly. A moth danced near the glass. Then I heard it. A soft sound, movement somewhere behind me. I turned slowly. She was standing at the edge of the hallway. Same robe as before. Dark navy, tied a little tighter this time. Her hair was down again, falling over her shoulders, loose and natural. She was barefoot too, one hand resting against the wall like she'd paused mid-step. Neither of us said anything. We just stood there in that narrow stretch of dim hallway light, watching each other. Then, without a word, she walked into the living room. I followed. She sat on the couch, tucking her legs up beneath her. I stayed standing for a moment, unsure of what this was. Sit, she said quietly. So I did. Not close, not far, just there. She was holding something, a book, an old paperback. It rested in her lap like she'd been reading it, but I could tell she hadn't been. I used to read this when I couldn't sleep, she said. I glanced at the cover. I didn't recognize the title. I've had it for years, she added. Moved it from place to place, shelf to shelf, but I never actually reread it. Isn't that strange? Keeping things just because they remind you who you used to be. I didn't answer. She looked over. You don't remember me, do you? Back then. I do, I said. Not the version I've shown recently. The real me. The one before the marriage. Before everything else. I hesitated. I remember how you made the house feel different. She smiled faintly. Louder. No, I said. Lighter. That surprised her. She blinked once, then looked down. I was different then, she said. Or maybe I just pretended better. You're not pretending now. That made her look at me again. This time longer. Steadier. I see the way you look at me, she said. I didn't deny it. You used to avoid my eyes, she continued. Now you don't. I don't want to, I said. The silence stretched between us, pulling taut like a thread. Then she set the book aside and shifted slightly, her robe brushing softly as she moved. One leg dropped to the floor, her posture more open now. I didn't come out here to talk, she said. My throat tightened. Why did you? She tilted her head. Why did you? I tried to find the answer. I really did. But it wasn't about sleep or water or coincidence. It was about everything left unsaid between us in the past few days. So I said nothing. She didn't seem to need a response. Instead, she leaned back slightly and looked at me. Not teasing, not playful, just direct. You've really changed. So have you, I said quietly. Another pause. I can't look at you the same anymore, she said. I felt it hit in my chest. The way her voice softened when she said it. The weight behind it. I shifted forward on the couch, resting my elbows on my knees. I keep trying to act normal, I admitted. Like you're just my mom's friend. Like I don't see what I see. Her voice dropped even lower. And what do you see? I turned my head, met her eyes. Someone I don't want to stop looking at. She inhaled sharply through her nose. Not shocked, just still. Her lips parted like she was going to say something, but no words came. And then, finally, she moved. Her hand reached across the cushion. Slow, steady, and rested lightly on my wrist. Not a grab, not an invitation, just presence. Her thumb traced a small arc across my skin, and I could feel every nerve in my arm fire at once. I shouldn't, she said. I know. Her hand didn't move. I'm not sure what this is, she added. Neither am I said. The room was so quiet I could hear the distant hum of the refrigerator and the rustle of trees outside. She leaned forward just slightly. Not enough to cross the space between us, but enough that I could feel the warmth of her breath. You're not a boy anymore, she whispered. I swallowed hard. No, I'm not. She pulled her hand back slowly, like she didn't want to, like she had to. Then she stood. The robe shifted with her movement, catching the light at the hem. She paused, looking down at me, her eyes unreadable now. You should go to bed, she said. But the way she said it told me everything else she wasn't saying. I nodded slowly. She turned, walked back down the hallway, and disappeared into the shadows. I sat on the couch for a long time, barely breathing. That night, sleep didn't come easy, but something else did. Something I didn't know how to name yet. Something that had already begun. I didn't wake up to an alarm. It was the smell of coffee. Soft, rich, drifting under the crack of my door. For a second, I forgot where I was. Then it all came back. The living room, the robe, her fingers brushing my wrist. The way she looked at me before walking away. I got up slowly, pulled on a hoodie, and made my way downstairs. She was in the kitchen. Karen stood near the window, hair pulled up, wearing leggings and a loose sweater this time. One hand cradling a mug, the other lazily stirring something on the stove. She looked peaceful, like someone who had made peace with a decision or was pretending to. She didn't turn when I entered, just said, "You hungry?" "Not really," I replied. "Still made enough for two." I stepped closer. Her back remained turned. On the table sat 2 plates neatly arranged. Eggs, toast, avocado. She always cooked like she meant it. Even breakfast felt deliberate. "You didn't sleep much either," I said. She turned slowly then. Her eyes were calm, but unreadable. "No," she admitted. "Not much." We sat in silence, eating without really tasting anything. The occasional clink of a fork. The hush of morning outside. Nothing else. Halfway through, She looked up. I'm leaving this weekend. I froze. Leaving? Back to my place. Or what's left of it. I swallowed. You didn't mention that before. She nodded. Didn't want to. Another silence. Is it because of last night? I asked. Karen's gaze held mine for a second longer than it should have. Maybe, maybe not. But I think you and I both know it changed something. I didn't respond. I didn't know how. She stood and carried her plate to the sink, rinsing it methodically. Your mom works late tonight, right? She asked, not turning around. Yeah. Good. I need a quiet house. For what? She turned then, wiped her hands on a towel, looked at me like she wasn't quite sure if she should say the next thing. But then she did. To think. I nodded slowly. Okay. She gave a faint smile, not warm, not cold. Just real. I'll be in my room if you need anything. I watched her walk away, her steps silent on the tile floor. All day I couldn't focus. I walked around the neighborhood, sat on the porch, stared at my phone. Every creak in the house made my heart skip. Every imagined knock sent me into a spiral. I didn't see her again until after dark. I was in my room, lights low, staring at the ceiling. I hadn't heard her come upstairs. I didn't hear footsteps, didn't hear the door open. I only realized she was there when her silhouette moved in the doorway, just a shape against the dim light behind her. She didn't knock, didn't say anything at first, just stood there. Same robe as before, same stillness. Then, finally, can I come in? I sat up. Yeah. She stepped inside, closed the door behind her with a soft click, and leaned against it for a moment like she was holding it closed on purpose, like she didn't want the world outside to hear whatever was about to happen. She didn't move from the door. I keep thinking about that moment, she said, when I walked into your room, when I said I forgot you were home. I think about it too, I said. I didn't forget, she whispered. I knew you were there. I opened the wrong door on purpose. My chest tightened. She exhaled, slow and deep. I wanted to see if you'd look at me differently. You did. I stood. And what did you see when you looked back? She didn't answer right away. She stepped forward, slow, steady, until she was standing just a few feet in front of me. Her robe shifted slightly with her movement, but she didn't fix it. I saw someone who wasn't looking at me like a kid anymore, she said. I'm not. She nodded. I know. Another pause. Then she asked, quieter now, do you regret it? Last night. I shook my head. Do you? No, she said. That's the problem. Her eyes locked on mine. Not playful. Not testing. Just asking. What happens now? I asked. She stepped closer. Now only a breath away. That's why I'm here, she said. To figure that out. The silence between us was heavier than anything we'd said. And yet it felt like the most honest part of the night. Her hand reached up, not rushed, and brushed a strand of hair from my forehead. You feel it too, don't you? She asked. I didn't speak. I just nodded. Her fingers lingered. And then, almost too softly to hear, she said, then close the door.
Bye-bye.